You know that feeling when someone shows up for you just when you need it most? That's what Uber is all about. Not just a ride or dinner at your door. It's how Uber helps you show up for the moments that matter. Because showing up can turn a tough day around or make a good one even better. Whatever it is, big or small, Uber is on the way. So you can be on yours. Uber, on our way.
Hot Take is brought to you by ZBiotics. The holidays are a lot of food, a lot of drinks, and one too many awkward family moments. ZBiotics gives you one less thing to worry about how those holiday drinks will affect your mornings. ZBiotics is a pre-alcohol probiotic, is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics produces an enzyme to break that byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut where you need it the most. Just remember to drink ZBiotics before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best the next morning. Give ZBiotics a try for yourself. Go to zbiotics.com/HT to get 15% off your first order when you use HT at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/HT and use the code HT at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this episode.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
Hey, hotcakes, welcome to Hot Take. I'm Amy Westervelt.
And I'm Mariana Eads Hegler, and this is a very special episode of Hot Take because we're going to be answering your questions. So technically, y'all are the guests this episode.
It's true, and there's so many good ones. I'm so excited. Yeah.
And some of them are a little bit in concert with each other, so I'm kind of wondering if y'all colluded. By the time this comes out, this will be the last episode of Hot Take. So I know we've said this before in earlier episodes, but we've really enjoyed building this platform and getting to know y'all over the years, having y'all get to know us, getting to have all of these wild and crazy conversations about our wild and crazy climate. And thank you all so much for listening over the years. We really, really appreciate you.
Yeah, I think that's been the best part of this whole endeavor is just the community that's kind of grown up around Hot Take. The hotcakes.
The hotcakes. Also the jokes.
Also the jokes. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. No one asked this, but the reason the jokes came into play was because of our season 1 finale, which took place at the very beginning of the pandemic lockdowns. I believe we recorded that in like April 2020. So kind of a dark time. And we did it drunk and we asked Twitter for dad jokes. And that's how that happened.
That's
and we were like, let's keep doing this because this is great.
About that. Actually, they were so handy for like breaking up really serious moments that could have like become real downers.
Yeah, because that's always a risk.
Happens in climate.
Yeah, always a risk. Also in this episode, we'll be playing some of our favorite dad joke moments from over the seasons. So excited to hear those again too, because I am crazy enough to go back and listen to them.
Awesome. All right. Well, actually, this is a great episode to end with because it's all about you guys. And that's kind of been the focus of the show. So it's nice. It's a nice note to end on.
It is. It is. All right, Amy, you ready?
It's time to talk about climate.
Okay. Our first listener question is from Steph. And I'm just going to go ahead and read it because I think it's a good question for you to start off with, Amy. Why isn't everyone going hog wild over energy efficiency yet? It's in the IRA, sure, but it's like it's such an easy win. Are there downsides I'm missing? Still requires manufacturing, for example, or is it just not compelling enough? Thoughts welcome. XOXO. Oh.
This is a great question. I feel like we should have had Kendra Pierre-Louis on here to answer this question because this is her hill to die on.
It's her soapbox, baby.
It is her soapbox. It's insane that we're not going hog wild on energy efficiency. I think that it has a lot to do actually with fossil fuel lobbying against energy efficiency because who wants us to be less efficient? The people who sell energy. Mm-hmm. So that's a big part of it. But it's wild because you go to countries where energy efficiency is a thing, and even in low income housing projects, hospitals, schools, everywhere you go, there's like proper insulation, double paned windows, because nobody wants to be spending a fortune on their heating or cooling bills. Makes sense. And for some reason, we are extremely behind on this. I can't remember the last school in the US, for example, that I went into that had proper insulation and windows. That seems like such a low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, I learned from Twitter there are places on this planet where if you leave your appliances plugged in, they're not using idle energy. But here in the U.S., if you want your appliances to use no energy, you have to unplug them, right?
That's right. Yeah, stuff like that, where I just feel like we're leaving so many easy wins on the table. And in a lot of cases, energy efficiency is really cost effective too. It doesn't cost that much money and it saves people money on their electricity bills too. So a lot of times, in these discussions where people are like, oh, these climate policies are making everyone's electricity bills go up. Well, here's a case where they could make everyone's bills go down. And yeah, I think that the only answer is really, industry lobbying against energy efficiency. So, and I do think it does have a little bit of an image problem. It's not sexy.
Yeah, it's like the absence of doing something in a way, right? You would have to create the efficiency by retrofitting a bunch of stuff. So sure, that's doing something, but it's not a solar panel feels like you're doing something different in a way that energy efficiency, I guess, kind of doesn't. Yeah. But I also wonder if energy efficiency isn't as sexy to people because it would actually save people money in a different kind of way. And I wonder if it's not just the fossil fuel lobby, but also the utilities.
Possibly also the utilities, because there's sort of an interesting history here where in the 70s when there was the big what do you call it? The ban on sending fossil fuels from the Middle East to the US, the OPEC ban on the US. And so there were major shortages here. This is occasionally you'll see these old pictures of people lining up at gas stations and all that kind of stuff. Americans got really, really, really good at energy efficiency. People just got good on their own because energy was costing so much that they needed to. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that shows that, both the utilities and the fossil fuel industry were really freaking out about this, especially as that all started to get worked out at the sort of geopolitical level, but like people had created new habits and they were like, how are we going to get people consuming more energy again? This is like actually my favorite example of how that industry is not at all a supply and demand industry as much as they like to claim that they're just like fulfilling a demand. they do a lot to keep that demand up. And in this case, they really like manipulated pricing and production levels to get fuel down to a cost that would make people be kind of over consumers of energy again. So yeah, that's what happened. So, you know, two like lessons from that is A, we can do energy efficiency if we want to and it works. Mm-hmm. And B, if we want to do that, we have to be prepared to handle the industry because they will absolutely push back on it.
Yeah, basically energy efficiency is socialism. And that's why it hasn't taken off. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Our next question comes from Amy. Suspicious.
But not me, I swear. Yes.
Suspicious. Amy has two questions, just like an Amy. One, is it possible to convert offshore oil rig platforms into offshore wind platforms? And if so, would it be possible to seize them through eminent domain? And two, who is Brian Kahn and why does he want your hate mail? Okay, let's deal with the offshore wind platform question first. I don't know. Sounds to me like a great way to run into a critical infrastructure law and find yourself in a lot of trouble. Yeah. So I don't know. Amy, have you tried this personally?
I mean, theoretically, you could turn an offshore oil platform into an offshore wind. Like you could repurpose some of the elements of an offshore oil platform to build an offshore wind platform. And in fact, like a lot of the people who have built offshore oil platforms have now retrained and are the country's, you know, sort of experts on building offshore wind platforms, many of them from your neck of the woods on the Gulf Coast. That's kind of where the main workforce for offshore wind is coming from. And they're all former offshore oil guys. So like similar set of skills, similar approach to construction, but like you basically have to sort of take it apart and reconstitute it, like use some pieces and ditch others. As far as eminent domain, no, that does not come into play in the ocean, actually. So no, you couldn't. But I mean, the government could probably incentivize converting offshore oil to offshore wind. What they're doing now is like providing an equal number of offshore oil leases for every wind lease that they offer. So they're pretty far away from forcing the issue on shifting from oil to wind, unfortunately. But they could, I mean, honestly, like what the government could do is stop offering offshore oil leases and put an end date on the ones that exist. That would be pretty easy to do. That could be done by executive order. They're just not doing it. They're not doing it. So, yeah.
Kind of doing the opposite. So, I mean, theoretically, so the answer is like theoretically, yes, but in likelihood, no.
Yeah, well, theoretically, yes on the conversion, no on the eminent domain question. And then
I got you.
Yeah, you've got the whole like political will problem. So, yeah. Let's move on to the more fun question. Brian Kahn and hate mail.
So Brian Kahn is a friend of the show, also a journalist, most recently at Protocol, but was recently, you know, laid off in all the media layoffs lately. But he was a guest on our second season of Hot Take. And one of the things we learned about Brian during that episode is that he loves hate mail. Yeah. You know, as Amy can tell you, climate journalists get a lot of hate mail. Well, shit, I guess actually I can tell you that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Climate writers get a lot of hate mail. I've gotten some really crazy shit in the physical mail before.
Jesus.
I know, right? Some guy wrote me
Creepy.
like this long letter trying to be like, I used to be like you and be really sad about climate change. And then I realized it was all a hoax. And I was like, oh shit, dude. Anyway, but yeah, so climate writers, climate journalists get a lot of hate mail. And Brian like collects his. And we were like, you know what? You want ours? And so he was like, yes, I absolutely do. So we always send our hate mail to Brian.
That's right.
And
he's
sometimes
actually
he sends it to
gotten, he has gotten some emails for us. I don't know if he's actually gotten hate mail or not. He's actually more gotten questions for us.
Yeah, like, who are you?
Yeah. Before he was at Protocol, Brian was at Earther for a really long time too. So you might recognize his name from there. Yeah. And loves hate mail. We were like, you should make a newsletter that's just like your weekly hate mail.
Yeah, or like a coffee table book would be really funny too.
Yes. Yeah, because when he was at Earther especially, he used to get ones because they were owned by Gizmodo, and so like that stuff would get picked up in lots of different places, and he would get crazy emails from people that were like, you fucking dumbass. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so, threats too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. So yeah, he's gotten some stuff for us, and it's always very amusing. And Brian, as I mentioned, has left Protocols, so I don't have an email for him right now. But if you're on Twitter, he also takes hate DMs.
That's true. He does.
So
he does. All right. Question number 3 is from Niam. And they write, hey, I love the podcast. You make understanding climate much more accessible and sometimes even funny. Thanks for all the dad jokes. There you go, Mary. Woo! My question is, what is your favorite song, artist, or genre of music? Ooh, that's tough. It's hard to pick just one.
Not so tough for me.
Okay.
My favorite song in the world has been Lean on Me by Bill Withers ever since I was a little kid. If that song came on the radio, and yes, I'm aging myself, I would make my mom like stop the car. Like we couldn't get out of the car until the song was over. That's how much I love that song.
That's so funny because I was going to say favorite artist, Bill Withers, man.
Oh, really?
Every time.
I did know that about you.
Yes.
My favorite artist is Stevie Wonder.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yes. Yeah, I have like a Bill Withers greatest hits record that I put on every Sunday morning. I love it.
Like a physical record?
A physical record, yes.
You want to know something really funny? Our producer just started writing in the outline, Mary, can you sing? And then quickly deleted it. Which, good call. It showed up for like a split second.
That's hilarious. He doesn't. Clearly, he's never karaoke'd with you. No, I'm just kidding.
The answer is I will sing.
Okay, let's hear it.
Really?
No. Only if you want to. Only if you want to.
No, you don't. You don't. Also, so as far as genre of music, I guess R&B, but R&B to me includes a lot of stuff. Like it includes funk. It includes any black music that isn't like rap.
That isn't hip hop?
Yeah. Or it can include a lot of hip hop too, actually, just not like specifically rap.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the same, actually. That's mostly what I listen to. So we've established now that I have a record player. I have a bunch of like old, like Brazilian and like Latin music records too. That I like. I like when I'm cooking, actually.
I like Brazilian music too, in particular Oxy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Thanks for the question, especially because it wasn't about anything depressing.
It wasn't. Thank you. Just a little get to know you. Always love it.
I like it. Okay. Next one is from Alex. And he writes, why do you think late 90s and early 2000s mainstream environmentalism was focused so much on animals and less on humanity and risks to our living? I understand that protecting animals is an important cause, but focusing the whole narrative on that just doesn't make sense to me, especially when mainstream organizations haven't done much to actually protect animal habitats and stopping species endangerment at a large scale. This is a really interesting question because I think there's like a few sides to it. What do you think, Mary?
Yeah, I mean, I've worked in environmental nonprofits, so I have a little bit of insight into this. One is that the environmental movement, especially of that time period, was directly grown out of the conservation movement, which really was all about animals and like protecting pristine wildlife places from people of color for the enjoyment of recreation by white people, right? It's kind of like if you ever watch Mad Men, there's this moment where Don Draper's wife, Betty, gets really into conserving the reservoir in Dutchess County. And that's that type of like ladies who lunch environmentalism or conservation. And it's all about like, I want to keep these cute little animals cute so that I can go look at them. I want to keep this water clean so that I can go fish in it and vacation next to it, not because of any sort of like real altruism. It's basically you want to keep your playground for your playground. And the other reason I think it was kept so much about animals is this really deep fear that people in environmentalism have about scaring people. And by not wanting to scare people, a lot of the time, once you dig a little bit deeper, what you realize is that they don't want to scare themselves. So by focusing on the animals, you don't have to focus on the impacts to people. And therefore, you don't have to really think about the impacts to you. You can like sort of otherize it and distance yourself from the real impacts of it. And I think I agree with you. I think it did a real disservice because at the exact same time that you're trying to create that kind of distance, there are real people who are suffering on the front lines of it, and you're erasing them and replacing them with polar bears. And don't get me wrong, Amy and I both love a good polar bear. We love animals, and we think animals should be protected and cared for as part of this ecosystem. But we, in that particular time period, went way too heavy on the animals and completely ignored the people. What do you think, Amy?
Well, there's a couple things. One, I wanna shout out Rev Yearwood and the episode that we did with him where he talked about how a lot of early environmentalists were very specifically avoiding joining the civil rights movement at the time. So which I think is such a like important point to remember. I also think that I know like I worked for the journal that a nonprofit put out. So like I was in the same office as an environmental nonprofit. And my observation from that time was like, oh, this is where rich white people go to not feel guilty about being rich or white.
Yeah.
During that time period in particular, it was like, okay, this is, so
Where they're going to be unproblematic.
Exactly. So to your point about kind of avoiding the people who were actually being impacted by this, yes, definitely. Like these were not people that wanted to engage with environmental racism or the way that like consumer culture and class played into this problem at all. They really were just like, about preserving nature. On the other end of the coin, I talked to someone recently who kind of blew my mind because they were talking about how the fossil fuel industry and its operatives really pushed the idea that all environmentalists cared about was pristine nature.
Yes.
And so it's interesting to look at like how much of this was real and how much of it was like superimposed on the movement by its opponents. Because and I think the answer is like, oh well, they saw this weakness and exploited it, which is like what has continued to happen every time the climate movement has sort of an obvious failing or an obvious inability to interact with larger societal issues, that weakness is exploited by the fossil fuel industry very effectively to be like, oh, these people are elitist, or these people are out of touch, or these people are racist, or these people are classist. Don't be
They're
those
very
things,
good at
and
that.
no one can say that, you know?
I mean, they'll say any fucking thing. Like, they're not above lying.
That's true.
But
That's true.
like, don't be racist, because don't be racist.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The other thing I think is important to note, though, is that, like, we were talking about this the other day. I do feel like there's been almost an overcorrection in the opposite direction, where, like, people are like, fuck polar bears, and I don't think that's good either. It's really weird. I was talking to Tara Hauska about this, who's an Indigenous lawyer and writer and activist, and she was saying that that she feels like that has actually done a real disservice to the climate movement, and has also really moved the movement pretty far away from how Indigenous people view these things. She's like, we view nature as our relative and ancestor. So the idea that it has to be like, either this pristine thing over there or this thing that doesn't matter at all. Like, what the fuck are these choices, It's
like man versus nature, or nature versus man. It's like, neither of these is correct.
That's right. Yeah. So, and also, like, I think kind of embedded in that is the idea that like we've talked about several times on this show, that people of color don't care about nature, which is totally false.
Bullshit.
So yeah.
Never met one. Honestly, never met one.
Single one.
Because you know what? Every time I meet a person of color, they tend to be breathing air.
Right, exactly.
Kind of need to care about nature to do that.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah.
Well, cue dad joke. What happens when you eat marijuana?
Depends on how you've processed it.
You gotta think like a pun.
You digest weed.
You get a pot belly, Drew.
That's so dumb.
It's actually true. That is also true, though. Yeah,
that is
also,
true.
Yeah,
What can be true? It's true.
Yeah. I'm so glad we're having this conversation about democracy, because a lot of people say our democracy is a trash fire right now. And did you hear about the circus fire?
I heard something vague about it, but I did not. I don't know, like, the specifics of the story.
It was intense. Get it?
Wow.
Oh, no. Poor Adam.
Wow, that is an impressive dad pun. I really should have seen that coming.
Wait, back up. Is there a real circus fire?
I thought there was something.
Show. There's
I literally
are called
heard
all kinds of things.
when you asked me that, I was literally thinking, oh yeah, there was a fire at a circus. Now maybe that was just my brain tricking me. I was like, oh yeah, but or maybe it was like me, like, having skimmed some story on Twitter.
There is a literal trash fire in India going on right now.
Oh God!
Oh, maybe that's what I was. I don't know. I definitely saw like a big news story about a fire, and I was like, I don't, I saw something about it, but I don't really know what you're talking about.
Poor Adam Serwer. He never saw it coming.
That was so fun. That is still, I think that's my favorite dad joke moment in all 3 seasons.
It's up there for me.
Hilarious.
It's up there for me, but it was hysterical.
So good. I saw something about it, but
no, you didn't. No, you didn't. Circus fire. Oh boy, that was hilarious. Okay.
So good. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. This holiday season, do something for a special person in your life. You. Give yourself a gift to raise your spirits, and not just for a day. The holidays could be a tough time, the end of the year, the start of a new year, all kinds of family stuff coming up. It's normal to feel down or anxious, and having someone to talk about how you're feeling and what you can do about it is truly a gift. BetterHelp is a fantastic gift to give yourself. BetterHelp is especially great because it allows you to access any type of therapy, all kinds of different therapists, no matter where you or they are in the world, and it makes it easy to do therapy around your schedule. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists, 100% online. Plus, it's affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It could not be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/hottake. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/hottake.
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? They bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. They're passionate about your industry so you can walk into any room with every advantage. And they're with you every step of the way so you can know you're headed in the right direction. PwC builds for what's next so you can get there now. Get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge.
Learning through play starts with Lego Duplo. With Lego Duplo, toddlers can develop real-life skills while having fun with colorful bricks made just for them. Large, easy to grip, and safe to explore. When children express themselves with Lego Duplo, they build patience, problem-solving, and empathy. See your child learn perseverance and self-expression with everything they imagine and create. Visit lego.com/preschool to learn more.
All right. Our next question comes from Rebecca. I love your show. I have a couple of questions. I want to ask your hot take on what is one of the best ways I, as a person, can help the climate movement. Also, I have a 401k through my work. I know a lot of times 401ks invest in fossil fuel companies and other bad organizations. Is there a way I can have a 401k without giving money to fossil fuels, lessen the negative impacts of this? Also, what are your cats like? Here's a picture of my cat below as a pumpkin. Oh my God!
So cute.
Oh my God. I thought our producer had cut the cat out and I was about to send him a bitchy text. But no, there's the cat and it looks kind of like Baloo. Oh my God.
I know.
So
that's what I
cute.
thought. I was like, oh, he looks like Baloo. So cute.
All right, let's take the fun question first. What are your cats like? My cat is perfect, spelled with a U, and he is currently laying on my lap in my little recording studio in my closet. He won't let me record Hot Take without him or do almost anything without him. He's very dog-like in that way. Like he kind of follows me around. He always wants attention and like cuddles. And also he's protective. So if I don't like someone, he won't let that person near me if it's possible.
That's so cute.
Yeah. He's very sweet. And I think he knows how cute he is.
He's very handsome. I feel like that's important to know about Baloo. He's like a very handsome cat.
Amy has 2 cats now.
I do. One is Sir, and he is very old and very large. He is a 30-pound cat.
Damn.
So really about the size of a small dog. Not even that small. Probably bigger than a lot of small dogs.
What are you feeding this cat? Steak?
The thing is, like, he is definitely a little bit chonky, but he's also just like a big boy. He's like big boned. And he is also very, very furry and actually also like really likes to cuddle. He's very insistent about like shoving his head in my hand for cuddles.
Wait, how old is Sir?
He is 14 now.
Okay, he's not that much older than Baloo. Baloo's turning 11.
Yeah. He's definitely like he's seeming quite old now. I think he can't see that well anymore. Like I think he can see outlines of things, but like I consistently see him getting totally surprised by my other cat who's a kitten. So she just like shows up out of like she likes to like jump around and move quickly, and he's like, oh, what was that? You know. So the other cat is Clementine, and she is a kitten. She's almost a year old though, so I think she's just going to be a really small cat because she's tiny.
Aww.
Yeah, like the opposite of Sir. She's like a tiny baby. She is blind in one eye. We got her. She just like showed up in our backyard one day and really like did not want anything to do with humans. And my youngest son sort of like tamed her over time and then started begging us to bring her inside. So I had to like go get flea medicine and all that stuff. And then we let her in. And now she's just like totally the family cat. And she's very cute. She's a calico cat.
Aww.
Yeah. And she's also, I mean, our recent problem with her is that she was spayed, but apparently like some of the tissue remained. And so she like went into heat, and I was like, oh no, what, like, did the spaying not work? What happened? Do I have to worry about her getting pregnant? Because on top of the fact that I don't really want to deal with kittens, she's extremely tiny. So I just don't know that she could even do that. But we took her to the vet, and the vet was like, no, she's fine. There's just like some of these tissues floating around. So now once a month or so, she is just a very horny cat that wants to go out all the time.
All right, Rebecca, you asked. Amy is over here slut shaming a cat. Let the record show.
I know. Well, because it's like there's some rough looking cats around here. And I'm like, oh my God, Clementine, come on, raise your standards.
Wow. You know what? She likes what she likes. Okay.
I know. I mean, I was trying to tell my husband the other day, I'm like, listen, it's fine. It's just natural. My only concern is that she might like pick up some disease or something. So, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want her coming back with the mange.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be my next problem. She's
Get her
hilarious.
some flea medicine, though.
I do. She's on flea medicine, so that's good. She's just hilarious. She has a lot of personality.
Also, Amy has a dog.
I also have a dog, Bandit.
Yeah, she didn't talk about the dog very much.
Mm-hmm. He is my shadow. Oh my God, that dog cannot be without me.
Brag.
Yeah. He also, he has body dysmorphia in like the opposite way that you usually hear about it. He thinks he's a chihuahua, but he's like a giant. And so occasionally I find him like stuck in tiny spaces that he thought he could fit into.
Oh my gosh. Poor Bandit.
So cute. It's so funny.
Poor Bandit, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Yeah.
So on to your bigger question of what's the best way that you as a person can help the climate movement. Honestly, I think you're well on your way because the best thing you could do is to keep looking for the next thing to do.
That's true.
And kind of just like incorporating it into how you show up in the world as a person. So kudos to you on that. And just like, you're just going to keep looking for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And that's just kind of how it rolls. It's like, you know, what is the next way I can dismantle white supremacy, right? Because it's never going to be just one thing. And I think you, from the way this question is worded, you already know that. And moving your money around is a really big way to do that. And Amy, I know you've, done a lot of work on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's like one of the easiest individual actions is to just like see where, like what, not just your 401k, but also, your main bank, your like deposit account or savings account to a lot of major national banks lend your money out for fossil fuel projects, which is not cool. But on the 401k thing, you can absolutely put your money in a 401k that does not invest in any fossil fuel projects. And if your work like should offer that, whoever's, in charge of the 401k, you should be able to say, I want a socially responsible fund. And there are several to choose from. So yeah, that like someone else has already done that work. You just have to ask for it.
Yeah. So Thank you, Rebecca. And our next question is from Alec. Hey, since the Republicans won the House, thank you so much for that reminder, Alec, and the Democrats still control the Senate, is it possible for laws that the House passed during this Congress to be passed by the Senate during the next Congress? Does that ever happen? If not, is it because of the law, or is it just a norm we should break for the sake of, saving civilization?
Great question. So, unfortunately, the answer is that when a new Congress convenes, all of the legislation of the past 2 years has expired and must be reintroduced with the exception of treaties. But I don't know that that would stop this from happening necessarily. And I'm not sure what the law says. It may very well be a norm, which I think Trump proved don't mean shit. So yeah, that's a good question. I honestly I'm not a political expert. I think I've never seen it happen. And in general, the idea is that, you have to start over and reintroduce things. And with a Republican House, they're not going to reintroduce
jack shit,
anything that the previous Congress did. But if a bill was already passed, then I think it would move on to the Senate for a vote.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe there's some possibility there.
Short answer is that our system of government is perfect, flawless, works great every single time. That's what this boils down to here. Great country we got here. Yeah. All right. Next question is from an anonymous high schooler. Relatable. I'm a senior in high school living in Houston, Texas. I'm currently part of the Jewish Youth Climate Movement. That's wonderful. First of all, I would like to say that I'm so grateful for this podcast and everything it's taught me and exposed me to. You're both huge role models. Okay, you're being too nice, but thank you very much. I'm just going to move to the question, though. Okay, now for the question. It's actually a few questions. Knew it. I have a decent understanding of how capitalism is fueling the climate crisis, and I know a lot of climate activists are anti-capitalist. But do you think it's at all possible for us to seriously mitigate climate change under capitalism? If the answer is no, what does that mean for the climate movement? If the two are that deeply interconnected, where do we even go from here, given that there is no example of a successful alternative to capitalism? And given how deeply entrenched capitalism is in our incomprehensibly complex global society, and given that we have an incredibly limited amount of time to transform our systems before we hit a tipping point for climate change. If we cannot mitigate climate change under capitalism, what do we do? Okay. All right. All right. That's not even all the questions, but we're going to stop there and deal with that. I mean, look, there's never been a successful alternative to capitalism. I don't know about that. Because I would say that societies in North America and in the global South, elsewhere, existed just fine before capitalism showed up. And so I don't think that they, were exploiting the planet for profit. They weren't. I don't even have to make that speculation. So yeah, there are successful alternatives to capitalism, and human beings have a deep ability for ingenuity, and we are absolutely capable of creating something better. If we can create something this complex and this awful, we can create something complex and better. I absolutely believe in that. However, I understand that we have a limited amount of time, and there are very powerful forces that are against us doing that. So our business right now is to make as much positive change as we can under any given circumstances.
Right.
And this is no longer about just mitigating climate change, because climate change is here. This is about adapting to it. This is about reducing suffering. That's really what it's all about. It's about creating a livable future and reducing suffering in order to do that. And so if we can't reduce all suffering, we can't eliminate suffering, reducing it is still worth our time. So I don't know. What do you think, Amy?
Well, a couple things. Yes, there are many examples of indigenous cultures that predate capitalism that were quite successful. And many of those cultures and approaches are still around. Yes, they have been in many cases dominated by capitalism, but actually, like, I don't know, I look at the rights of nature movement as a really good example of kind of a shift to a different mindset. And like, I really, the reason I find it so interesting is that it provides like a whole different decision-making framework. So you could kind of superimpose it over almost any economy because you're just valuing different things. And that's true of capitalism too. Like, I think there's this tendency to think that capitalism is only the kind of capitalism on steroids that the US has. And there are examples of sort of better forms of capitalism. There's also like a lot of interesting research going on around, what could an economy look like that just placed different things at the center, versus GDP, for example. So in some cases, I guess maybe that wouldn't still be capitalism, but you could still have like markets and competition and some of the things that are sort of hallmarks of capitalism, but in an economy that actually values, clean air and clean water and people's ability to live, which seem like pretty critical inputs to any economy. But yeah, to your question about can we do anything about climate change under capitalism? Yes, of course we can.
And we have.
Will it be the perfect solution? I don't think so. Can it move us closer to the right solution and reduce suffering in the meantime? Yes. In terms of like where I see the most promise, I really like, I do see actually quite a bit of optimism in the whole rights of nature thing, which has been embraced by governments throughout South America at this point, and in New Zealand and parts of Australia as well. It's starting to actually be embraced by local communities in the US. In the US, it has a very interesting bipartisan appeal because it kind of like, I don't know, it kind of plays to a lot of the, sort of individual freedoms and like small government ideas of libertarians, but while protecting ecosystems. So it's, to me, like that's the only thing I've seen proposed recently that's actually being adopted that is a huge departure from capitalism and is working. So yeah. And in that kind of a system, like you would evaluate, like, a wildly irresponsible lithium mine would be just as bad as, an oil well that's leaking oil all over the place. So I feel like that's important too, because right now what we're seeing in a lot of cases is like this thing that we've talked about a bunch on this show where you're just kind of like swapping out inputs and not really changing the system in any real way. And I don't think that will ever get us all the way there.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important to understand what the word mitigate means, right? Like mitigate really kind of just means reduce. Or deal with. And so, can we mitigate climate change under capitalism? Yes, and we have mitigated climate change under capitalism. We've also exacerbated it under capitalism. So, that's why a lot of people don't trust that shit. And so, can we solve climate change under capitalism? I don't think so. Can we, build a livable future under capitalism at this point? I'm very concerned about that because capitalism is all about exploitation. We're running out of shit to exploit.
That's right.
And so
endless growth. I mean, I think that's the problem too, is just like you can't endlessly grow on a planet with finite resources.
You just can't. It reminds me of what Antonia Yuhas said on her episode with us about climate change and war, that there is no resource on Earth that we can exploit to the degree that we've exploited fossil fuels. There just isn't.
Right.
So
that's right. Yeah.
All right, let's get to the next part of this question.
Oh, yeah. There's more. Okay.
Yeah, there is. And if you do think it's possible for us to mitigate climate change under capitalism, or if it's the only viable option we have and we're going to have to make it work, then how would that look different than green capitalism, which is so often regarded as a false solution? What would that world look like from a big picture economic standpoint? And is the climate movement wasting its time in alienating potential supporters by being anti-capitalist?
Okay. Well, I think we already kind of tackled. My answer is rights of nature under this, and I do not think that the climate movement is wasting its time being anti-capitalist. I think that, like, you know, this is a tired phrase, but it's the one that's coming to my mind. We have to be able to like walk and chew gum at the same time. I really, the thing that I like get the most frustrated about within the climate movement is this like either or mindset that like if you're anti-capitalist, that means that you think we shouldn't do anything until we replace capitalism. No, like that is the goal that we're marching towards, and along the way we're going to make incremental improvements within the system that we all live in right now. You know, like you don't stop working towards change because your goal is larger systemic change. Like you move towards that larger systemic change.
Yeah. I also wouldn't agree that the climate movement is anti-capitalist. I think there are a lot of anti-capitalists in it. But is the whole movement anti-capitalist? No. And I think it would be a bad idea to alienate the socialists. I think it would be a bad idea to alienate the I think that we can have room for all of those people too, including myself. And I think that the climate movement spent a whole lot of time being very, very pro-capitalist. And where did that get us? Absolutely nowhere. We spent a whole lot of time trying to work within the system, work with the industry, work with, you know, the economy.
We're still doing that. We're still doing
right.
That
but like that was the only thing really being offered by the climate movement, because we were trying to be calm, trying to be cool-headed, trying to be pragmatic. And where did that get us? It got us absolutely fucking nowhere. So yeah, sorry to be cussing at a high schooler. I'm sorry, sweetie. I'm not cussing at you. I'm cussing at the system. But yeah, like it got us nowhere. So I think it's time. I think it's good to be more radical. I think it's good to keep the end goal in sight, because for the longest time we were so focused on incremental solutions and like natural gas as a bridge fuel. And now it's time to cross the bridge, and we can't even talk about the bridge because the ultimate goal should have always been the abolition of fossil fuels. Right. But we never said that out loud. And so now we get stuck at this midway point.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. For so long, people were really afraid to say that that was the goal. It was like, oh, no, it's fine. You know, I'm like, wow, I don't understand. I mean, even at COP, right? They still can't say that out loud. That's still not in the agreements coming out of the International Climate Negotiating Summit. They cannot agree to say that the goal is to get off of fossil fuels. That's fucking crazy. That is totally ridiculous. And a big part of the reason for that is that, you know, oil companies and oil states continue to have way more power and way more influence than they should at all of these things, right? So, like, I think I would like to see the sort of the anti-capitalist and socialist wings of the climate movement like focus a little bit on like getting rid of the most egregious ways that capitalism shows up in the climate space as like step one. And to me, that is getting fossil fuel executives the fuck out of the IPCC and the Conference of the Parties. They should have absolutely no role in climate negotiations, period. That is such a fucking low bar, and like it's getting worse right now. So yeah, I think that like, you know, no, it's not bad for people to in the climate movement to be talking about capitalism, to be talking about wanting to get away from capitalism. None of those things are bad. I would like to see the movement sort of focus on actually like getting rid of corporate influence.
Yeah. Same. Okay, next question. I was curious how Amy decided to move to Costa Rica. Do you speak the language? Does your partner work there or remote job? Any resources you use to research before making the move? Also, I'm so incredibly sorry if it's not Amy. It's Amy. Don't worry. More context. My husband is desperate to be an expat someplace warm. It doesn't fit the season of our lives for so many logistical reasons, but I don't even know where to start to figure out how we could move toward a plan for the future. Really appreciate the conversation and discussions on your podcast and also the corny jokes. Okay, first of all, my jokes are fucking brilliant. All right, this is high class humor coming your way. Very highbrow. I'm sorry if that's like over your head and it comes across as corny, but this is like grade A motherfucking humor over here. I've been practicing in the mirror since I was 5 years old. All right, Amy, why'd you move to Costa Rica?
Lots of reasons. I've been thinking about leaving the U.S. pretty much since they started arresting journalists at pipeline protests. That was like, I was like,
that'll do it.
This is a red flag, a giant red flag. And my husband is not from the U.S. He's actually from Scotland. So we thought about moving there because that would be very straightforward and easy. But I speak Spanish and cold. Yeah. I speak Spanish. My kids speak Spanish. My dad was Mexican. So I was like, oh, it'd be cool if we moved somewhere that people speak Spanish, because the kids had been going to like a bilingual school for a while, but they hadn't lived somewhere where people speak Spanish. So I felt like it was, it'd be cool for it to get solidified. And then my husband had actually worked in Mexico and in Spain and had learned like quite a bit of Spanish, but always felt like he wished he knew more. So we thought, okay, maybe a Spanish-speaking country. And then we thought about Mexico, but then, there were a lot of issues happening in Mexico at the time. And I was like, I don't know. And I'm also not sure where in Mexico. And then we looked at Central America and South America, and Costa Rica is super, super stable and has like kind of it's like the easiest place to work remotely from, because they have super fast internet and like pretty stable power and all of those things.
That's true. Amy's internet got faster after she moved.
It did. It got faster. Yeah. Yeah. So, but then, I mean, honestly, we were kind of like, maybe Costa Rica. And then we watched a shitload of House Hunters International on Costa Rica.
We want to do a yoga business with yoga retreats. This is a very big place for yoga. And people always think of Costa Rica. They think of like peace and relaxing.
And then we came here for like 10 days last December, and we were like, yep, this is it, let's do it. And that was it. Like by July we moved. So yeah, we kind of, I don't know, I feel like it requires a little bit of like just being ready to kind of jump and go for it. And we also both work remotely, so that's very key, because it was like, well, if we work remotely, we can technically live anywhere. Costa Rica also has very friendly immigration policies. So there are lots of different types of visas you can get. You can also, like, I know people that have lived here for years and they just leave the country every 90 days to get their visa renewed. And, like, they've been living here for 5 years, So, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are all the reasons. Oh, but like the main kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back was I got a notice from my kids' school saying that they were going to have to be doing active shooter drills the next year. And I was like, no, actually, I'm not participating in that.
Hard pass. Hard pass.
Literally like no other place would they have to be doing that. So let's pick any other place to be.
Well, cue dad joke. Pisces and alligators get along.
Oh, jeez.
That makes you. I think being a Pisces makes you an.
Oh,
every Pisces in the world is an.
That's it. That's...
New study. I'm gonna piss off my editors as much as possible.
Rihanna, how you feel good about potatoes, right?
I mean, I'm from the Midwest. Of course, I love a potato.
You should also love lentils, being from the Midwest. But anyway, what disease is the biggest killer of potatoes?
I'm trying to think of a play on like bird flu. can't think of anything.
You give up?
Or COVID. No, I don't know.
Tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis. That's actually really good.
Okay, I have a really important question for you.
Oh my God.
And that is,
my God.
Here, it's happening, Mary. How do philosophy students feel when they fail an exam on empiricism?
Amy, I'm so proud of you for this at the same time that I'm just like cringing so hard.
You know, I don't think, obviously nobody likes to fail anything, but, you know, I think students are very confused when they don't do well in philosophy. You know, isn't it just vibes at the end of the day? Vibes and questions.
Just how I feel about this.
Yeah, and, you know, that's most of it. You know, but there are, you know, arguments and such.
Femi, the correct answer here is humiliated.
You know,
humiliated.
That's on me. That's on me. That's really on me. You know.
Okay, we've only got a few more questions left. We unfortunately weren't able to get to all of them. There were more questions about why we send our hate mail to Brian Kahn. Apparently, a lot of people asked that. So go back and listen to that Brian Kahn episode from season 2. And let's go with this next one. It's very specifically for me, from Josh.
Yes.
How will we stop octopuses from becoming our alien overlords? Josh,
we can't.
Josh,
There's nothing
honey,
we can do about it,
sweetheart. You sweet, sweet, sweet summer child. There is nothing you can do to stop the octopi from becoming your alien overlords. It's happened. It's here. They've been here. They were here before you were born, before I was born. They've been here since the beginning of time. Okay? So just bow down. That's all I got for you. Bow down and don't eat them. I think that I have done zero research on this, but everyone who's ever gotten abducted by aliens has eaten an octopus. Every single one of them. I can say that emphatically, but not empirically. Also, I'm just getting a note from our producer that octopuses do not like to be called octopi. They resent it, and I repent and will learn from my ways. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all.
Yeah, just surrender, Josh.
Yeah, no,
sweet surrender.
Yeah, it's a wrap. Okay. Next question. I have one question for the mailbag. Fuck, marry, kill, Exxon, BP, Chevron.
So good. So good.
Okay. So.
Oh my God. Okay, Mary, you want to go first?
No.
Well, I have like a very elaborate theory about the personalities behind these oil companies. So
please.
So I feel
please
like okay, I think that I would fuck Exxon, marry BP, and kill Chevron. And here's why. Exxon is just like unapologetically Exxon, and I don't know. I guess there's something attractive about that. I'm like, okay, actually Exxon is not pretending to be anything other than what they are. They're just terrible. And
that's why they blocked me on Twitter.
Yeah, I guess maybe this is me admitting that I like bad boys.
Wow. Wow.
BP, like at least they're trying, you know, and they have an accent, so.
Wait, what did you say you would do with BP?
I said I would marry them.
Oh.
Yeah, and Chevron I would kill because I think like Chevron to me is actually maybe the worst because they try to like pretend that they're that they're like nice because they're in the Bay Area. They feel like they have to like give lip service to, climate and racial equity and all these things. But like behind the scenes, they're terrible. And they also like never let any fight go. They're the worst. So yeah, kill them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe I would fuck Chevron. And then kill them. Like while they're sleeping that night. I would kill Exxon because they blocked me on Twitter. I would kill them slow though. Like I'd make a game out of it. I would hunt them for sport in the woods.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't take years. It'd take a couple of weeks. Nice. In a bunker. It would get real medieval before they die. And I would marry BP. And then kill them and take all of their money.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I like that. that.
So I'm killing all of them. There's just two that I'm going to fuck or marry first.
I can't believe that we're both going to marry BP.
But I'm going to kill BP. You're just going to stay married to him like a simp.
No, I would definitely kill them. I would poison them slowly over time. I feel like I think it's just because of our affinity for BPD's nuts.
And actually, we never talked about that on the show.
It's true.
So, hot take is me and Amy's love child. BPD's nuts was our rage child.
Yes.
And we lost both of them this year. I know. So BP These Nuts was our Twitter account that we created back in April of this year to troll BP for the BP oil spill on the anniversary of the oil spill. And a lot of people thought that we created it when Elon Musk bought Twitter. We didn't. It predated Elon Musk buying Twitter. But when Elon Musk was like, you can buy a blue check mark, we were like, absolutely, we want to do that.
Yes. Definitely. Definitely worth the $8. Thanks, Elon.
Absolutely worth the $8. And we trolled the living shit out of them with a blue check for like 5 glorious hours before our account got suspended. And, there's not a day that goes by that we don't think about our sweet child, BP These Nuts, taken from us way too soon and gone out in a blaze of glory. So...
my favorite part of that Twitter profile was the bio that was just net zero these nuts.
Right. Also, how many people would get into genuine arguments with an account named BP These Nuts?
Yes.
Like,
oh my God.
Yes.
I had like an actual source of mine arguing with BP These Nuts, and I had to DM him and be like, it's me.
It's a parody, hun.
This is a parody. And he's like, wow, really good, though, because it's just like them.
Right. We're like, what are you going to do this Earth Day to reduce your So, yeah, I still have a screenshot of that text message when Amy was like, hey, you want to buy a blue check for BP These Nuts? And I was like, absolutely. I'm very proud for that to be part of the Hot Take legacy. And, in the future, whenever you miss Hot Take, get online and troll a fossil fuel company. And we'll know that you're thinking of us.
Yes.
If that can be our legacies to the world, then I'm happy with that.
Absolutely. Also, I'm very proud of the fact that Earther actually ran a memorial profile of BP.
One of the things that in all seriousness, that I think we really accomplished with this show was pulling the veil back on fossil fuel companies and revealing them as the villains in this story. Because just for so long, and I've said this before, climate change has been framed as not a victimless crime, but a villainless crime. And I think that, while we might all be the victims of climate change, we can also be the heroes of this story. And so every time you stand up to a fossil fuel company, you are reframing your role in the story as going from the victim to the hero.
Right. That's right.
So, yeah. Also, fuck BP.
Well, or marry them. I'm just kidding, though.
Okay, you don't have to consummate the marriage. Fuck Exxon, I guess. Wait, no, I said I'd fuck Chevron, right?
Yeah,
I don't know. Fuck all of them. Really?
That's true.
Fuck all of them. Shell too. Shell can get it too.
Yeah.
ConocoPhillips, Total, all of y'all. Pemex.
Yeah.
Pemex, the one that like actually set the ocean on fire. Fuck them too.
That's right. That's
Saudi
right.
Aramco. Fuck them too. All of
Fuck
them.
them too. That's right. Schlumberger.
I don't even know who that is, but fuck
them.
American Petroleum Institute. Fuck you to death.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. The Cokes suck a cack. I'm just kidding.
Kick rocks. Kick rocks. All of y'all. All of y'all.
Yeah, all of them.
And on that note,
that's a really good note to end on.
Yeah. We love y'all. Thank you so much for supporting the show.
Thank you.
So, Drew, where do sheep go on vacation?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad we're doing jokes.
I did a joke a minute ago.
That was a
head.
joke.
Yeah, that was over your head.
Sorry, that was okay. That was over my head. Where do sheep go on vacation? Shirhamas. I don't know. The shore. The shore. The shore.
Oh my gosh, you were so close. They go to the
Whoa! I was really close. Fuck. Wait.
I feel like you get honorary air horn. Amazing.
I love how much Sarah Sneath put into that delivery too.
Yeah.
So good.
I cheat for sweets. I also sometimes will cheat for spite. So over... There's not much I won't do for spite, but over Thanksgiving, I ate some of the Thanksgiving turkey so that my mother was mad at my brother and my brother was mad at my mother.
I love that. I love it.
It made me a little sick, but you know what? Worth it. Okay, what do you call a laughing jar of mayonnaise?
Ew.
LMAO.
You're canceled. Everyone's heard it here.
So, a man threw a jar of mayonnaise at me earlier, and I was like, "What the hell, man?"
You're canceled. I've canceled you both.
Wait, me? Come on.
Okay.
No.
Wait, but like, what did the mayonnaise say when the refrigerator door was opened?
I don't know.
I'm bad at jokes and I hate mayonnaise, so neither of these are engendering me to
close the door. I'm dressing. Speaking of eggs, I'm so tired from eating mayonnaise all day. I'm egg exhausted.
I'm leaving.
Okay. That was it. That's it. Hot Take is a Crooked Media production.
It's produced by Ray Pang and mixed and edited by Jordan Cantor.
Our music is by Vasilis Fotopoulos. Leo Duran is our senior producer.
And our executive producers are Mary Anais Hegler, Michael Martinez, and me, Amy Westervelt.
Special thanks to Sandy Girard, Ari Schwartz, Kyle Seglin, and Charlotte Landis for production support, and to Amelia Montooth for digital support.
You can follow the show on Twitter at Real Hot Take and subscribe to Crooked Media's video channel at youtube.com/crookedmedia.